is about a work that Rob has been developing, right? So I am part of the team, but this is the basis of the work that he has done till now that a lot of you know already. But I would like to give you a context before we do anything else, okay? So this is something that Dr. Kimberly Nicholas put in so beautifully, and this is the climate science basics, right? So we have, it's warming. We know that it's happening around us. It's measurable. There are proof about that. So let's not just question this today, not tomorrow either. So, and we know that we are in a trajectory of becoming more and more hot, warm. So, and it's us, second point, we know as well that this is proven. This is driven by human activity, by burning fossil fuels, and we are sure. And it's bad. If some of us are not panicking sometimes is really because we are not paying attention. Climate change puts in risk most of the things that we love the most as human beings. So it's bad. However, this work is based as well in that we are not bystanders of all this. We can do something to avoid in the context of the worst scenarios, and as well to build capacities of what we can do next, right? So then I swear I'm not going to show loads of graphics. It's just one or two, and this is something that it's helpful to show how this is developing. So if you see, do you see the pink there? So this is the Holocene temperature range that is happening in, in the pink. It's in a way showing what temperatures we had along our civilization. But then you can see that we are just getting out of that pink zone. So this is the first time in history that we are just leaving that kind of security that we know. We don't know what are the effects about this. So in a way, being bad, we have two ways of thinking about oil age, So the oil age, this amazing, so we found this amazing source of energy during a period of history that we were able to develop so many incredible things. And it is really it's like a miracle. It's a condensed energy source. And we have these two ways of explaining. So in the transition movement, and Rob says it very often, that we try to see it in different ways. So one way is to see it as a mountain. So imagine that 200 years ago, we started to climb a mountain. We are really heroic. We are climbing the mountain steadily. And now we are standing on top of it. So after 200 years climbing that mountain, under our feet, we have all the carbon that we burned. We have more debt. We have inequality. We have the amount of anxiety that, we never had before. But this is, of course, for most of our, the wealthier, healthier, wealthier countries in the world, we are standing there. And with us, there is like a guide of the mountain. And the guide of the mountain tells us, careful, there is a storm coming. We need to go down. And the guides, they know the mountain. We know that. They really know the mountain. They tell us to go down. And for some reason, some people really react to that and some people don't. So what do you do? Mainly when you work in this field, you continue talking about the dangers of climate change and the dangers of the kind of system we live in. And we somehow are blocked. So the transition movement or the transition model, or Rob is working a lot on what is the narrative that we can use. So instead of talking about running away from something, we talk about what we will find if we start going down the mountain. So we talk about these amazing valleys, green valleys waiting for us, the delicious food and wine, the soft mattresses, the warm side fire that we are going to be sitting with other people and talking with each other, and the dry socks. We talk about these things like that. Of course, complementary to the guide tell us we have to go down, right? So the other way of talking about that is a little bit the same, but we talk about a lagoon, a deep, very, very dark lagoon. 200 years ago, someone told us, you know what? There is a treasure in the bottom of that lagoon. And here we go. We deep dive and we swim. And now we are in the bottom of the lagoon. It's cold. We don't see each other. And what do? So we tell people, just help yourself with your foot. You just kick and then you start swimming to the surface. And as we swim to the surface, we start to feel the light on our skin. We start to see each other, etc., etc. So, and we get out and we can breathe with a full lung. So that is the kind of narrative that we use because we observe that, in fact, just saying that this is really dangerous, what we are doing, it doesn't work. So then, all okay? I'm just asking because I'm going to show you another graphic, but it's the last one. So, and you would think what there is, what do we have as a tool to help us navigate, to do a pathway to what we need to do. So in 2015, the Paris Agreement was signed. Yeah, it is not perfect. It's very underwhelming, but it's what we have. And let's use it. So as you can see, the pathway that the Paris Agreement shows us to have in 2050, 99% cut of emissions, shows us that in 2030, we should have cut 48. 2030 is in 4 years. See? So that's something that we just need to realize and to sink in the information. So, and you would say, so where do you, Filipa, tell us where are you trying to get to? So this is really important for the work that we are doing here and what the work that Rob is doing. Rob is fascinated by the idea of imagining what would be what the world would look like if we could visit the future when we had successfully cut the emissions to 50%. Not everything, just the 50%. What would be the world like? And how can we use that kind of information and imagination to use all our senses to imagine that? So this is the key of the work of Rob, the last book he wrote, and of this workshop. Normally we do this workshop like a 8 hours workshop, and this is just a taste for you. So Bell Hooks said something I'm going to read. What we cannot imagine cannot come to being. We have to be able to imagine the world as sensorial and seductive ways possible. So this is the key of the work. So imagine if we could travel to this place where we did everything that it was possible and we had succeeded to cut emissions to 50%. And how does it feel? It's not only in your head. How does it feel? What do you see? What do you smell? What does it feel like in your skin, etc., etc.? So this is the key of the work, knowing that to get to 2050 and cut almost 100%, we need really to be serious about the 50%, right? So this is the window of the Institute of the Future in US. And Rob is always saying that he's very, very inspired by this. This is another key element of this work. So any useful statement about the future should at first seem ridiculous. We don't have time to ideas that we've heard already, things that seem normal. We are so late in this work that only the ideas that first seemed ridiculous are acceptable. So the invitation is really to be ridiculous and to be bold. And Rob tells the story very often about when he went to Switzerland and he was invited to talk in a big conference about agriculture. And he was talking to 400 young people. And just before him, there was the CEO of a big network of supermarkets. And he came up and he started to say, you have to be pragmatic. And you have to be, don't forget to be pragmatic. After 4 times he said that everyone should be pragmatic, the speech finished and Rob came in, he stepped in and he said, you please do not be pragmatic. Please be bold and ridiculous. Bring up these all ridiculous ideas about the future, what you could do in this field. And this is all about that. So if you never did this workshop, at the start of the workshop, what we do is to ask people to bring a potato. And then we give them like toothpicks. And then they have to create this monster. And we ask them to think about the name of the monster, what they eat, and the mating song. When you have all these people, adults, singing together the mating song of their monster, potato monster, this is when we start to be ready to work on this, you know. So that's why we use it, that technique. And I would invite you, if you are doing workshops on imagination, start with the potato monster. It really works, mainly with young people. About ridiculous ideas. So this is the Wasaga Beach in Canada in 1969. So this was the life on a beach like this. So no one would imagine an alternative to take the car to the board of the water, and it would be very normal to be sitting there like with the wheels on your ear, it's like that. And I'm sure that someone would have said, what if we would not take the cars to the beach? And I'm sure that someone said, this is ridiculous. We always did like that. But the truth is just the year after, this stopped because it was forbidden. Then the legislation started address that. And now we look at this, and this is another kind of ridiculous that we don't want to take with us. But this is just the showing that from one day to another, a ridiculous idea that sounds ridiculous can be a really good, amazing future, you see? So, and then talking about ridiculous, you have seen that I am dressed like this. I am ridiculous today, and then as ridiculous as they are. So Rob and Mr. Kit, who started this amazing project, that it is an incredible, amazing project of time traveling with this quantic science, and some people would have said, well, I really don't believe it. I want to show you the proof. Are you okay? Can I show you the proof? Yeah. So let's see. So this is Emma's, Rob's wife, in her kitchen. Whoa, I need to hear you. Whoa.
What?
Whoa. You believe me now, right? So this incredible project, I integrated the project as the first non-UK person, non-British. So you can see that we were working together with groups, and we did like this tour in Portugal, and this was in Lisbon. And for you to be feeling safe with me today, I'm showing you that I have a certificate of time travel training. Rob is going to invite you to come in, to this. He's going to be the one facilitating that, stepping in this future, but I will be there assisting as Elisa, and Esther is there as well in case something goes wrong. So no problem with that. So you can see that I have that training. So I am going to maybe invite you to relax, because now I'm going to pass on to Rob's video.
Good morning, everybody. This is Rob Hopkins here, and what an honor it is to be able to present some kind of a contribution to the fantastic transition day of practice that's happening today. And I'm really sorry I can't be there in person. I'm running a time travel training with 50 people working in the National Health Service here in the UK, in London, all day. So I'm sadly not able to be there in person, but I'm sending this as a little contribution via Filipa to you, and a little exercise around time travel. But first of all, I want to just give a little bit of the context of why it is that I'm sitting wearing this extraordinary costume, and how do I make this video work? I have a video here. So, welcome to Totnes. I want to just, you probably by now know a lot of things about Totnes. So you probably know that we're where the first transition initiative in the world was. But what you probably don't know is that deep underneath Totnes Castle, in our secret laboratory, we have been working now for many years to create the world's first actual time travel device. In our laboratory, which is deep, deep underground, we've been working very hard. Initially, we were working to try and establish the theoretical underpinnings for how time travel might actually work, which in 2016, we were very honored to win the prestigious Schnitzel-Gruber Prize for Scientific Advancement for the work that we did establishing a theoretical basis. But then we went back into our laboratory, worked very, very hard to try and create a way to actually then send two time travelers forward in time, which in 2022 we managed. I had the honor to be one of those time travelers who set off on that difficult mission. And so if you visit Totnes today, you will find that it's like sort of Silicon Valley for time travel. There are lots of different time travel researchers there. It hasn't been without controversy. In 2022, there were protests by fundamentalist mindfulness practitioners who argued that time travel took people out of living in the moment, took them away from living in the now, which was met by counter protests who argued that all times were welcome and that chronodiversity was embraced in the town. That's all calmed down, really, though, since then. But now, if you visit Totnes today, it's like a kind of a departures lounge for time travelers. Yes, we have our current team, but also it's become like a place, a departures lounge where people from different moments in history, different time travelers will arrive in the town. It's really quite an extraordinary place to be. And so our time travel crew from the laboratory wanted to send their greetings to you and their best wishes for this incredible transition day of practice. And they have given me something to bring along to use with you, which is our portable time travel device. It's a very, very powerful thing that allows us to turn any space into a time traveling opportunity. So I want to do a little exercise with you where, well, first of all, I'm going to show you this because this is some serious, serious quantum power here. I'm sure you can probably feel it, right? It's starting to kind of rearrange things. It even works online. This is a phenomenal piece of technology that allows us to bring time travel into people's everyday lives, into their everyday existence. It's beautiful. So I'm going to ask if you might close your eyes, please. And if you're sitting on a chair or whatever, feel the ground underneath your feet and take the deepest breath that you've taken all day. And I'd like to invite you to imagine that you are leaving 2026 behind, that you are drifting up out of the constraints of time that allow you to move backwards or forwards through time. And we're going to start to move forward 2026 to 2027, 2028. As we start to travel forward, we discover that actually these years ahead of us turned out to be years of the most extraordinary transition and transformation, which back in 2026 felt so hard, almost impossible to imagine. But as we start to move forward, 2028, 2029, 2030, we see that positive change started to build in cascades with a kind of an irresistible force to it. 2031, 2032, 2033, these years of courage and imagination and driven change. We worked so hard to make this extraordinary transition happen. 2034, 2035, 2036. We're going to circle down to land in this 2036. It's really important to make the point that this 2036 is the 2036 that was the result of us doing everything we possibly could have done. There are many, many, many other 2036s. We've been to see a lot of them. A lot of them are not great. This one is the result of us doing everything we possibly could have done. And as we touch down into this 2036, I'm just going to open the door here on our time travel device and invite you to step outside and take a walk around. Take a deep breath. What does this future smell like to you when you land here? So in your own time, go for a walk around in your imagined 2036 that turned out the best it possibly could, using all your senses. What does it smell like, feel like, taste like, look like? What does it sound like? Have a walk, and I'll call you back in a minute or so. To invite you to travel back with me, gather up anything that you found there that you might want to bring back to the present, any words, any concepts, any smells, anything you'd like to bring back to share with people. And we're going to set off back to the present through 2035, 2034, 2033, 2032, 2031, 2030, 2029, 2028, 2027, 2026. Welcome home. Welcome home. You can open your eyes again now. In a moment, I'm going to hand back to Filipa, who will invite you using the chat here to share what were the impressions that you had there. What did you see? What did you feel? What surprised you? What delighted you in that future that you went to? But before I hand back to Filipa, I just want to say a little bit about why I think doing this is so important. I think we live in a time where the future is being cancelled and the future is being colonized, and I think that's really, really dangerous. And so for me, there is something very powerful about doing this. And I feel like this time travel practice should be something that we do on a daily basis, like running or yoga or meditation. Because the reality is that doing the opposite of this is a daily practice for all of us. We wake up in the morning, we reach for our phones tell us everything's awful, we should probably just stay in bed. Oh my God, look what's happening. And our imagination, our sense of how the future could be this extraordinary, dazzling, delicious, remarkable adventure just goes zoop. And that's something that we absolutely have to work against. And I've done that exercise now in the last few years, I think probably with over 15,000 people across Europe. And it's always fascinating to me how common the responses are that people tell me, how kind of universal it is. People tell me about a world that's greener and quieter and so on and so on. And many of the things that I'm sure will be echoed in the comments that you share there. And Elise Boulding, who was an environmental activist and a peace campaigner, she was the person who invented peace studies as an academic practice back in the 90s. She did this exercise in men's prisons all the way back in the early 90s. And she wrote up what they told her, almost identical to what people tell me today. And her conclusion was, I think we have many more co-workers for the work ahead than we might imagine. So this is one of the reasons why I think doing this kind of time travel practice is so, so, so important. And I hope you enjoyed time traveling with me. I look forward to seeing what you share in the comments in terms of what you saw when you were there. And I hope this is a practice that you'll be able to take out into your daily life, so that Totnes is not the only place where we have a time travel research program. And yeah, have a wonderful transition day of practice. I will hand back to Filipa and power to the imagination.
Okay, so let's talk about something that is really important, that is longing. How important it is to create the longing for the future. You understand what I mean? So this longing, the desire for a certain future, and how important it is to do it. And for that, there is this information around when it holds an example, when it started, people dreaming about going to the moon. So in 1865, Jules Verne wrote a book called From the Earth to the Moon, right? Most of us heard about that. So what he did, it was really, he pulled in all the information that existed, all the science that existed that could help imagine how we could go to the moon, how it would work, And so it was so exciting and thrilling his story to tell that this inspired immensely other scientists that started really to research how that could be done. So the book, it was incredibly accurate, some elements of it. So, for example, he said that the spaceship was made of aluminum. There were 3 astronauts. it would take off from Florida, all that. It was incredibly accurate for later. But then there were elements that were not very accurate. So, for example, what he was describing is that the rocket would be fired by a cannon, a gigantic cannon, and of course this would have horrible results for all of them. It would be like passata, like tomate frito. It would be a disaster. So, but it was so exciting, all that. A part of the science, this inspired people to start to write books and to make films, etc., etc. One of those films, what's happening? Wait, one of those films was a film that came out in 1902, and it was by Georges Méliès, and it was called The Trip to the Moon. And this was all about how they would go there, right? This was really the start of the building of this longing to go to the moon. And then, because of that, so we had this kind of genre of popular science magazines exploring that, and then we had comic books about going to the moon. We had jazz dancing about walking in the moon. So the culture really started to develop in terms of that story. That let's go to the moon. We are capable of going to the moon. And from horrible films, Rob tells always these stories. So in the 50s, there were these horrible films, this genre of films of all male crews going to the moon just to find loads of women excited to see male crews of astronauts because they were there. They did not see any men for years. And so this is a horrible one, Cat Women from the Future. You can watch it in YouTube just in case you are interested. But you can see the lost city of love-starved cat women. Why not? So a lot, and you see that the men, they feel like very strange expressions, not very happy at all. Anyway, so there are 9 films like this one around this era about that. Even Tintin went to the moon, and when JFK in 1963 announced that they were going to the moon, it meant that actually we had been there. People had the feeling that they had been there already. So many times in the books, in the comics, in the films, all that. So it's like we were rehearsing to go to the moon, you see. So we created this longing to go. So of course, when Neil Armstrong arrived to the moon, Hergé, who was the author of Tintin, depends on how you say it, in what language. Of course, they were already there, and they welcomed Mr. Armstrong. Bienvenue sur la Lune. So welcome to the moon. So this is really something that shows how this longing to the future is built by telling stories and imagination that really helps us focus the energies to make it possible. Science says that, I don't know if you heard about that, in the brain there is a little part of the brain that is called hippocampus. The hippocampus is responsible for both imagination and memory. So this knowledge opens a lot of stuff. So if the hippocampus has a central role in both imagination and memory, we know that to be able to project a good future, and imagining it and creating this longing, you need to have pieces of memory of what those images are. So, for example, if I say, Esther, do you want to come with me to Italy? And maybe you were never in Italy or Rome, but then suddenly you would say, that would be great. Do you know why? Because you have seen so many images about Italy that it's not necessary to be there for you to project and imagine how does it feel to be there. So this story that I was telling about young people that cannot have those images that you just shared might inform how kids are not having contact with nature, and so they don't have like the little cupboard filled with good memories about being not in anxiety, being connected to nature, connected to each other, to then when they are invited to think about the future, that everything goes well, they tell me they see robots, So it's really interesting all about that, because one of the things that I'm going to invite you, if you feel that you are like, if you identify yourself as an agent of change, think about that. How can we help people store these images in little cupboards that then when they are imagining the future, a good future, the one that we need to create longing for, that we provide them with those images. And at the same time, we know that the hippocampus is decreasing in the new generations, is decreasing the size of it. And with anxiety, we know that the size of the hippocampus shrinks with stress, with anxiety, etc., etc. So in the moment that we live in, we really, really need all the capacity of imagination, because otherwise, how can we step out of the cycle of how do you say, the status quo, to recreate the things as we are recreating them until now, using the same tools. How can we step out? We need to do that. We need to have the capacity of imagining something else. We need to train that muscle. That's why Rob says, please do the meditations like this, imagine the future, because we are helping the hippocampus evolve. And be ridiculous, always. Ridiculous ideas, because ridiculous ideas are the ones that we need. And then, so bold and ridiculous, and train this muscle of the imagination and create images, store images for us to be able to recreate that world that we need. So, and then there is something that I really wanted to tell you just before you stepped in from the rooms, the breakout rooms. I was talking with Esther about how fluid time is. The truth is, we have already the stories of the future. There are so many stories of the future, the images of what we have in the meditation. There are places in the world that they are already real. But like William Gibson says, the future is already here. It's not evenly distributed. But it's possible. Imagine these images of projects, incredible projects that are in all over the world about like the cement being taken out, so the deep pavers, of Holland and Belgium, the bikes, or you see this picture here with the yellow building. Do you see that? It's on your left. This is the picture of a school in Madrid that was designed by the students with the architect for their needs. And the dream that they had, it was that in the school there was a tropical forest, and they built it, So it is possible. You have the depavers down there of Holland, and you have all these stories that exist. Bring it to your neighborhood, to your city. Imagine your city if we collect all these stories to you. The future is already here, right? So what is missing? And then what you say, what is missing? We are missing the storytelling. And this longing, this desire, we need to create that with our narratives. So this is why this kind of work is very important, to hold people in their journey of being ridiculous, being bold in what they imagine, to collect these images, and then to train the imagination. Every time that you do the meditation, you can go deeper. And to create this kind of desire for this to happen. So, and why is it not happening? It's because we need to accept that around us there is this culture of the yes, but. Do you understand this expression? Yes, but something. If you are an activist, at least as an activist, I'm listening to that all the time. But what happens if we bring these bold ideas and the other person says yes, and building up these kind of ideas to the craziness of the possible and impossible? So that's me.
That was fantastic. And Rob was so funny. I was absolutely killing myself with laughter. That was great. The thing you just said about the yes and the yes but, I was thinking about it when we were talking in the breakout groups, that there was a thing that came up that, well, my brain told me that we couldn't do that, like, especially with getting rid of cars and roads and everything like that. And I think the thing that prompts is to say, so why do we need the cars? What is it about our current way of doing things that means that we need the cars? And that's what we need to change. It was just that. It's a great way to identify what is holding us back.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. That's very useful. Yeah, in the workshop that Rob developed and that I've been holding as well, we do an exercise about, we put all the group in presence. This is the first time I do it online. So in presence, we invite the group to plan a picnic. And then in the first round, so they are in twos, and the first round, the person says, let's do a picnic. And I propose that I take this, and the other person says, I hate that, and so on. So there's a round like that. And then the second round is a yes, but kind of like the person proposes, and the other says, okay, if it has to be, but no, and then you feel it. And then it's one proposing to the other, and so on and so on. And then in the end is the yes, and. And in the yes, and, you are not allowed to do yes, but. So it starts to build on and on and on. It's incredible, and everyone is laughing, and the eyes shine, and the people, it's really like people getting relaxed. It's really interesting. And people say, well, but we need to, when we need to plan, yes, when we need to plan, we have to do what you just said. But we know that when we have, like, at the start of the projects, we need to break up with the real world or with the constraints that the world put us. So We just do like a total emergence of what is possible and impossible. Just let it live with us. And then we will see later. And for that, we have an exercise that is really that's called to be good at the questions of what if, you know? So, and we train that as well. What if we generate ideas, and then when we are in the planning stage, then we do a timeline, what is possible now, what will be maybe possible later, you know, what is more important now, to start to change stuff, because, you know, if we do this with the yes, but, we are rooting ourselves into the system today that is too restrictive. But we don't know what's going to be in 10 years, for example, if the system, you know, we want to dismantle that part of the system that restrict us into, oh no, I cannot imagine not having a car, you know. So it is really important that I saw your hand, Geza, and super nice to see you again, so long.
Hi, Filipa. Thank you so much for sharing. I would frankly like to say, oh, I did this visioning thing such a long time. Is it really useful? But now I really understood it's useful because of this colonialism of the future. Thank you so much. What I'm very, very interested is how do you work with children? Could you share some insights, maybe in some minutes? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Geza. So, so the things that I have been exploring with children with this kind of workshop, it is, for example, the meditation itself, they resist to that. They really do. They feel strange. They feel a bit, you know, embarrassed among the others to close the eyes, imagine. So what I've discovered is that it's better to put them walking and invite them to say, imagine that you are in your school in 30 years or something like that. And then when I ask them to share, I don't ask them to share with nothing. So I do you know what is the Dixit cards? So for those of you who do not know the Dixit cards, they are cards that are really good, of images that are very complex with depth. And I put them on the floor and I ask them to find a card that matches the feeling they have. So for them, incredibly, it's really easier to talk about the card than to talk about what they are feeling. So the connection between the two is much easier. And then another information that I collected, that is in the beginning of the workshops, it's really, really good to give them real images of before and after transformations, that they can collect the image in their little cupboard of what a place that is not transformed look like, and the possibility of transforming completely. What does it feel like? So it really works like that. So being very image kind of thing, and helping them express things without getting blocked in how people will see me. And then another thing that I do is that if a child or a teenager doesn't want to participate, I totally respect. So it's very important to check their sovereignty, so they don't feel they're always afraid that someone will ask them to talk, you know. So invite them to participate as they want to participate. I've worked with a group of 80 kids from 8 years old and 18. And it really worked like that, designed like that. And then in the end, a fishbowl with chairs at the center and everyone outside. It really, really worked well. And the bigger kids helping the smaller ones. It was really, really good. I've seen another hand, I think, Lisa. We have 2 minutes. No, 7 minutes.
Yes. Okay, is there somebody else who wants to share? If not, we can go towards the closure. Christine.
Can I see? Hello?
Yes?
Um, one image has stayed with me very, very strongly, and that was the picture that you showed of the families in their cars that they've driven to the beach.
Yes.
And what I thought about that was that when it became possible to buy a car, when Henry Ford brought out affordable cars for ordinary people, it was extremely liberating. And those people were thrilled at the fact that they could take their family to the beach. And that idea of what is liberating at a particular time is maybe something that we could use as a focus, because now we look at that and we feel disapproving. We think, oh dear, how dreadful. But it wasn't then, you know, it was thrilling for them and lovely, particularly for the children. So this idea of what is liberating and what might be liberating in the future is maybe a way of working with people to explore what they would be prepared to work for and would feel liberated when it had been achieved, even in some small way. Thank you.
Oh my God, this is amazing. This is amazing perspective. I thank you so much, Christine. I never heard that perspective. It's really amazing. I will keep it in my heart, and I will share with Rob that perspective you have. Laura, nice to see you, not long ago.
Yes. One thing that struck me from this session, it has to do with claiming our space, our imagination, no, and not just letting, because we're bombarded. I mean, also young generations, no, with images and videos and clips about everything. So I feel like it's like having a coloring book, but everybody colors your book. Like there's no room left, no, to make your own book. So that's something that and I don't know if you have any further comments on this, but that's something that I really felt. And the other aspect that made me really curious, because I hear about the power of imagination, but I'm also wondering, and in a way, maybe longing feels like it can take us even further, because I can long for something that I can't even imagine. Because I'm also wondering, and I think also some people shared that on the chat, like maybe some things we cannot imagine, like we don't have images in our hippocampus. Like
Yes.
there's nothing there to really imagine it, but we can still long for it. So I'm also curious, because you brought both in, no, like longing and imagination, and this was one of the things that I was sensing. But I'm curious if there's anything more to share.
Well, I thank you for that. So the first part was the reclaiming. Yes, this is about that. So it's an activism of imagination. So the center of what we try to do is to reclaim that space, because what happens is that if you watch TV, if you read newspapers, if you see magazines, you know, and there is another exercise that we do in presence when it's the whole day after the visualization, the meditation, and after having shared, we go off in groups and we ask people to bring a magazine, and then you use the magazine and drawing to do a art piece that represents what you have seen. So it's like you know, if you have a magazine that is full of images of cars and gold and fashion and all that, it's a bit difficult to collect the images to do that kind of future that we want to be in. So in a way, it's like you say, it's really activism to reclaim this. And it should be like yoga practice that I know you do. Every single day we should have this kind of exercise to collect images, to imagine. And the other part, the longing for something that we cannot imagine, well, like I say often, what I would advise is that sit with the uncomfort of not knowing and do the work to build that. It's that what I would say. I know that's not a direct response, but I know that I don't know and I don't have images, but I keep trying to have my brain ready for that, for the moment. Is it good enough, Laura?
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's just, an experience of where I feel like the longing can sometimes take us further, where the images disappear.
Yes.
And I think the images and the senses and the smells and everything is really powerful. And in a way, the longing can stretch even further.
Yes.